Hi, it's Miles at Fabricana. If you've clicked on this video, it's probably because you're interested, obviously, in decorative channel track rods, but maybe you're a little bit intimidated by all the things that come with it. Like, what even are these things? Well, we are going to explain that all for you, explain the parts, explain the benefits of decorative channel track rods, as well as how to assemble it. So if you're just interested in learning how to assemble, you can skip ahead to the timestamp in the description, but otherwise follow along while I explain all this stuff. If you're interested in all content related to sewing, fashion, knitting, all those things, we have tons of informative videos on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So subscribe to the YouTube, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and follow along. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the benefits of a decorative rod like this. And the first one I want to talk about is the look. There are obviously tracks, that's why it's called a track rod, but once it's mounted, the look is very much like a traditional drapery rod, the kind that you would have had big rings that kind of slide back and forth that are really clumsy. So this is a much more functional, but still has that beautiful decorative look. The other thing I want to talk about is the customizability. These rods come in several different colors. They have different types of wall brackets, so depending on the look of the bracket that you want. And of course, I'm using just a simple end cap today, but there are some really beautiful finials that you can use to customize the end look of your drapery rod. So that's the first thing I want to talk about, is the customizability and the beauty of these rods. On top of the customizability of these rods, I also want to point out another great function. These are called master glides. They're the ones that kind of meet in the middle, and the nice thing about these is there is a left and a right, and you can see by the profile that the one on the right is deeper, the little bracket here, and what that allows is when your drapes close, the right overlaps the left, so there's no gap for the light to come through. So that's another really nice benefit of these rods. So I just want to talk about the materials that we're going to be looking at today. This is an end cap. Obviously we need two of these, one for each end. This is a very simple end cap. This could also be replaced by a decorative finial. We have a bracket. These are wall-mounted brackets, and like I said, the rod hangs from the bottom of the bracket. We have this little kind of double bracket here with a screw, and that is a glide stop. Again, we need two of those to hold the last glide in place. We have our master glides. There is a left and a right glide. They're quite different looking, and they're in a set. And finally, we have the individual glides, and these have little wheels, and that's what helps move your drapes so nicely along the rod. So the first thing we need to do when we're assembling our rod is actually to mount it on the wall. So you need to measure, make sure that your brackets are level. You're going to need two brackets, or if your rod is longer, you might need a third bracket for support in the middle. The nice thing too about these rods is everything hangs from the top, so you won't have any interruption in the movement of your drape. So once you have your bracket up, you're going to bring your rod to the bracket, and you're going to loosen the screw here, and that allows the little silver piece to go into the top of the rod. And then the rod slides into the bracket, and then all you need to do is tighten the screw with an Allen wrench to hold that in place. So once we have our rod mounted, you might be really tempted to put on some beautiful finials, but do not do that yet. We need to have access to the track. So we can start putting our glides on, and these are the little glides I was talking about before with the wheels, and those are going to just go right into the large hole. And the next thing we want to do is this little glide that we put on. If we don't put a stopper on it, when we close our drapes, the drapes are just going to go with it. So we're going to put in the stopper. I only have one, so I'm not going to do it for this one, but essentially I'm putting half of my glides into the rod, and then I'm going to be putting the master glide. So that's the center of our drapes. So then I need to put in the second master glide, and remember that's going to give us that beautiful overlap. So I can add the rest of my glides, the other half, I'm going to put all of them in except for the last one. And here's that last one. Before I do that, I'm going to take that little bracket that I had and we're going to slide that in. I'm going to tighten that with a screw and then I'll put in my last glide. And that little lock is going to keep my drapes from, continuing to close. It'll hold it in place. Once you have all of your glides on that you need, you would add your end cap or your finial. So you simply loosen the little screw there to allow it to go onto the rod, and then you would tighten the screw. You do that on both ends, so all of your glides are securely in place, and there you will have your finished rod. So that's all for today. I hope you found this helpful. Obviously, we're not having it mounted on the wall. Sorry I didn't have the extra stopper, but hopefully you're familiar with the how it goes together, what all the different pieces are, and you feel a little bit more comfortable when you're heading for that next drapery project that you can actually assemble the rod yourself and have a beautiful treated window. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're enjoying this content and you want to see other content, we're going to be doing a lot more about home decor, so stay tuned for that. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll see you with more content.